In today's demo, we're going to teach you how to add new user to the system. Log in as root and issue the command called user add, followed by the name of the user that you're going to add. In this case, we're trying to add the user guest into the system. Two files will be updated when you add the user guest. One is the etc password and the other one is etc shadow file. Let's take a look at the etc password. Do a grab for guest from the file called etc/paswd. This is the file where all user information are stored for the system. As you can see, that guest has been added as an entry into the file. The first column is the username. Now the etc password is delimited by colon for each field. The second field show X. This is to say that this has a etc shadow or a shadow password for this user. The third field show the user ID for guest, which is 501, followed by the group ID, which is also 501, and then followed by a blank in between two semicolon. This is actually the remark field, which is currently empty. Now the next field show the guest home directory /home/guest, and the last field is actually the guest default shell, which is bin bash. If you do a ID guest, you should see that guest has UID 501 and GID 501, which is the group name is also called guest by default. When guest is created, the group guest will also be created. Now let's take a look at the guest in /etc shadow file where the encrypted password is stored. Now you notice that there's a double exclamation mark on the second field. This shows that currently guest has no password set yet. As root, we can try to give guest a new password by issuing a command called passwd, or the password command for the username called guest. You'll be prompted for a new Unix password for the guest user. In this case, I'm going to type in a password. If your password is too simplistic, the password prompt will want you, but as root you still can insist on using the simplistic password. And you notice that the guest password is updated successfully. Imagine you have hundreds of new users to set password for. This will be a very tedious process. You can do the alternative method, which you can say echo the password, say ABCD1234, and then send this password to the password command, and the password command will receive from the standard input. In this case, when I echo ABCD1234, it will be echoed to the standard input, which password command will receive from the standard input and set the password for guest. And press enter, and you notice that the system does not prompt me for a new password, but simply update the guest password as what I have echoed on the standard input. This is especially effective when you try to write a script to update hundreds of users' passwords, whereas you don't have to go through the interactive prompt of the Unix command password. We have seen previously that before the guest password was being updated or changed, the etc shadow file showed that it's a double exclamation mark in the second field of the guest entry. Now after we have changed the guest password, let's take a look again at the guest entry inside etc shadow file. You notice that now the double exclamation sign now is replaced by a string of mixed alphabets and symbols. This is actually the encrypted password for the password ABCD1234. Now let's try to switch user from root to guest by doing su-guest. So you notice now I'm logged in as guest. And my home directory is actually in /home/guest. And if I echo the shell variable, my default shell is /bin/bash, which is what we have seen inside the etc password file. The UID and the GID is 501, and the home directory for guest is /home/guest, and the default shell is /bin/bash. Let's exit from guest and return back to our root user. If for some reason or security reason you want to lock up the guest account and prevent user from logging into guest, you can actually do the command called user modify or user mode. -s is the shell. In this case, we're trying to change the shell variable to a no login shell for guest. Now before I do that, I will show you the current guest. Default shell is actually /bin/bash. Now I'm going to change it to /sbin/no login for the user guest. So you will recall back the guest command. You notice that from /bin/bash initially it will be changed to sbin no login. What is the effect of this change in the shell? If I try to switch user again now to guest again, you can see that I'm not allowed to switch user to guest anymore because this account is currently not available due to the sbin no login shell. Now if I try to change back to the default shell again by doing bin/bash, I should be able to log in now using guest again. Let's exit from guest and return back to the root user. Now if we do a grep guest on etc password, you notice that the guest home directory is /home/guest. Now we can change the guest home directory if we want to. Okay, assuming that I want to change the home directory, let me create a new directory by doing mkdir, say on /myguest. Right. If we do a ls-ld on /myguest, now you notice that this my guest directory is currently owned by root, so I need to change the permission to be owned by guest instead. So I can do a chown -R is to recursively set everything underneath the directory to be owned by guest owner, and of course the group owner guest as well for the directory my guest. If I do a ls-ld again on my guest, you notice now instead of root you get guest to be the owner and the guest group to be the owner of the my guest directory. So we can change now user mode -d to change the guest directory to my guest for the user called guest. If we do a grep again, you will see that now from home guest it becomes /myguest. So the next time as you do guest again, you notice that your present when I'm logging the guest, your present working directory has changed from /home/guest to /myguest. Now we can change that back. Again, you can just simply do the user mode -d to /home/guest. Okay, and you do su -guest. Again, now you find yourself home directory /home/guest for user guest. Okay, we exit. Now, as we saw just now, the etc shadow file actually store the encrypted password for guests. Now, besides storing the encrypted password for guests, it also have some other information in etc shadow file. For example, the expiry date of the password for guests, or how long the password can be used. How can we change that? We can use the ch or the change h command -l for listing for the guest user. So as you can see, the last password changed for guest, and the guest password never expire. The inactive is never, account never expire, and there's indefinite number of days that you can use the same password over and over again. Now, for security reason, we should change all this value. If you want to know the various options on how to change this value, you can do a man ch. It will show you the various options. For example, -E is to set the expiry date for the account. Q to quit. Okay, I'm going to change ch -m 0. This will define that the minimum number of days between password changes I still set to 0. -M 0. Sorry, it's 180. That's to say that the maximum number of days between password change should be 180 days. This will say that every 180 days the user should change the password. -W 14 days. Now, before the user 180 days limit is up, which is 14 days before, the user will be given a warning to prompt user to change the password before the 180 days limit is up. -I 7. If the user is inactive for 7 days, the account will be locked. -E E 2015 is the year, the month is December, the day is 31st. So this account is set to expire on 2015 December 31st. And lastly, which account we want to apply this set of attribute is the guest account. Let's take a look at ch -l on guest again. As you can see, all the various attributes of passwords has been changed accordingly. The password is now set to expire on December 31st, or rather the account is set to expire, and the next change for the password is on November 21st. It's 180 days if you count, and before the password expire, 14 days before the password expire, you'll be prompted to change the password. Now, if you decide to remove the user from the system, you can do the user delete or the user del command -R. R is to recursively remove the user directory, and then the username itself. So in this case, the guest will be removed, and then its home directory /home guest will also be removed from the system. You don't have to do this. This is just to show you. Now if I do ID guest, there's no such user. If I do a grep for guest in etc password, again there's no entry for guest. This will end our demo.